Rejoice, ye penny-pinching nerds, rejoice! For this is a season unbound by our bank accounts, unfettered by fees. A legendary age of liberty. This is the summer of free!
Hey guys, Peter Franson here from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. More Summer of Free to celebrate with you. This time I'm making my annual pilgrimage to rpgmaker.net, which is a great place to go if you're just looking for free video games to play. You could actually just spend an entire evening browsing based on different search criteria, the types of games that you might be interested in that you can download for free over at rpgmaker.net. If you don't want to spend an entire evening doing that, but you're interested in maybe checking out or having recommendations of a few specific JRPG style, usually, games, then I've got a few that you can check out. The first would be Castle Oblivion. Actually, the first two are both part of the same series. The description reads, "Have you ever made a mistake you regretted so much that you wish it possible to turn back time? That memory will never release you from its agonizing grasp for the rest of your life. But even if the present gave you the privilege to relive the past, would you have the strength to confront it? Or would your sins damn you into oblivion?" In our remake of Castle Oblivion, we've done a complete overhaul. Story, character development, maps, and gameplay worthy of current RPG players. The castle welcomes newcomers and old-timers alike, and if you played the original, you'll definitely want to revisit the castle again. Features include, as they describe, a written and more expanded take on the original plot filled with tons of bang! Rebalanced battles, designed for an enjoyable challenge rather than frustration. Remade, detailed maps filled with variety, makes the castle feel more deep and alive than ever before. Stronger development for the different characters in the game. Save anywhere, that's a big plus for me. Interesting and creative puzzles to solve. Rescue other trapped souls from the castle. Find recovery crystals, which you can either use to heal or break for stat-increasing items. Witness Vincent's hometown, Port Brinks, evolve as the story progresses. Lots of secret rooms and treasure are rewarded for the dedicated explorer, and optional bosses and dungeons to test your might and uncover more information about the game's world and characters. Estimated game length on this is over 20 hours. It's let's see here. It's only gotten 2,140 downloads, but keep in mind this is a this is a remake of an original game. So maybe a number of people just chose not to download the remake. But oh, actually, no, that's probably not true because the Castle Oblivion 3 has got 2,541 downloads. So similar type of audience, but it's reviewed pretty well. So yeah, so Castle Oblivion 3 is, I think it's going to be a similar game. Let's see if the description says anything different. Gameplay and mood. The gameplay takes place in two different worlds, on the Mystic Island, Stormbridge, and inside the floors of the castle. The game is meant to be fun to play, exciting, emotional, scary, and challenging. Features include a mysterious castle filled with over 9 different worlds to explore, exciting and climactic story with twists, fun gameplay with a good mix of exploration, battles, puzzles, scenes, and more. So it looks like, you know, a similar kind of vibe. What I did notice in the trailers for both of these games is I don't know if it was originally in another language and it's been translated to English, or if there's just kind of like some shortcomings with the writing. But there's some problems with the writing, some grammar issues, and just kind of some strange sounding sentences, both in kind of like the prose, the descriptive language, and the characters' dialogue and stuff. But I mean, if you're a fan of JRPGs, you're used to that. And you also won't have to hear bad voice acting along with it because it's not voice acted, so as far as I know. All right, so that's Castle Oblivion 1 and 3, both available at rpgmaker.net. And the third game from rpgmaker.net this time is Homework Salesman. The premise says Reniat, I guess that's the name of this person, Reniat returns to her home village after years away at boarding school to find that the village is nearly deserted. The mine that the village depended on heavily for boosting its economy and tourism has been overrun by monsters, and no one has bothered doing anything about it. Having trained as an adventurer, she decides to see what she can do about reviving the town and making a name for herself in the world. Homework Salesman is a life simulation game with an emphasis on dungeon exploration, completing quests, crafting new equipment and items, and befriending the people in town. The game takes inspiration from the Rune Factory and Atelier. I don't know, is that how you pronounce that? Atelier series. It's always interesting. I know that's like a Japanese-based series, and I never know how to pronounce half the. They get some crazy weird titles. Anyway, features on this one: befriend each villager by talking to them every day and giving them gifts. Higher friendship levels allow you to learn each NPC's personal story and can also gain you access to new shop items, skills, hidden goodies, and more. Unique items means that each item in the game is treated as a separate object. You can rename equipment, find rare versions of them, upgrade and repair them. Weapons have durability, and even enchant them. You can have several iron swords, each with different enchantments on them. 6 unique crafts: cooking, smithing, tailoring, enchanting, alchemy, and construction. Quests are divided into 2 categories: story quests that propel your adventure forward, and side quests that are procedurally generated. Very interesting. Features a world encounter system where you can find random events in field maps or dungeons, such as traveling merchants or a bandit who will offer to spare you for money, or you can kill him. And lastly, enemy encounters and most treasure chests are randomly placed on maps. You typically won't find the same monster encounter in the same dungeon spot every time. Treasure chest contents, are randomly drawn from a pool of items appropriate for the zone you're in. You can also find unique weapons with randomized names, stats, and enchantments. So a lot going on in a game that is, has a somewhat mundane title of Homework Salesman at RPGmaker.net. That's all from RPGmaker.net this year. Moving on to some other indie games. The first one is Reap by Daniel Linson. You can get this over at itch.io. And this one, let's see, the description reads: your ship breaks up on the rocky shores, but luckily you've made it to the island. Every action tires you, but the sleep you get brings with it a return of energy. There's plenty of fresh water, but if you don't eat, you will quickly starve to death. Some of the turnips on board washed up on shore, but they're in limited supply unless you plant and grow them. When the ship crashed, you watched your treasure map tear and scatter to the wind. So this is like this, I almost want to say black and white, but it's actually more of a, what's the name you give for this? It's like a brown and white, so it has kind of like this parchment kind of look to it, combined with a kind of a pixel type of art style. And it looks like a top-down view, or maybe like a global view, or maybe just kind of a limited fog of war kind of view. And it's just a little survival game, where you're having to chop trees in a wood, build bridges on rivers, build rafts on seas, till soil, dig up treasure, plant crops, eat turnips, and reap crops. And it looks like the controls are fairly simple, and again, the graphical style is very simple as well. So, but interesting little survival game, and that's again Reap, REAP, that you can get over at itch.io. All right, next up is the Inquisitor. The developer of this game says the Inquisitor is my entry for 2014's looks like Proc Jam. He's using kind of like a pixely font, so I'm not quite sure that's a C. Proc Jam. So it's my entry for 2014's Proc Jam Games Jam. In it, you must solve a procedurally generated murder by gathering evidence, questioning witnesses, and determining the murderer, the means, and the motive. It's pretty difficult and obtuse, so I recommend taking notes as you play to keep track of where all the rooms are and what the characters say when they dictate their alibis and suspicions. Difficulty of the murder varies wildly depending on what the murderer does. Sometimes they drop all the evidence right in front of you, other times it can get cleaned, picked up by other people, and shuffled around. If all else fails, take notes and read the hints on the title screen. So anyway, yeah, this has kind of like a pseudo 16-bit kind of pixel art style, and it's the trappings are like a fantasy dungeon or a fantasy castle or something like that, and you are like almost this wizard-looking guy going around and interrogating these medieval fantasy type people. So it's kind of like playing Clue, maybe, in a sense, but with a fantasy vibe, a fantasy pixel vibe over the top of it. So, yeah, this one, both Reap and the Inquisitor, actually all the rest of the games that I'm going to be pointing out, beginning with Reap onward, I found they were pointed out to me by PC Gamer magazine. And they have a section in their magazine every month that kind of points out some free video game options, and then once a year they have this top 50 or top 100, free games. And so that was kind of a cool resource for me to kind of pick some highlights from to share with you guys. Okay, so that was the Inquisitor, and you can check that out at Oh gosh, that's a weird. You can get it at itch.io also, or if you just do the Inquisitor video game, search the Inquisitor video game, you should be able to find it. Next up, from a studio called Crystal Shard, is Heroine's Quest, the Herald of Ragnarok, and this is a point-and-click adventure game. You can get it over at crystalshard.net. Crystalshard.net, and the description reads: "Explore the rich world of Nordic mythology. Egther, last of the frost giants, has sworn to turn all the world to ice. A young heroine is called to fight him, but first she must survive the harsh, excuse me, had a little dyslexic moment there. First she must survive the harsh environment, battle hostile trolls, and deal with many creatures and characters from the classic myths. Heroine's Quest is an adventure/RPG inspired by the classic Quest for Glory series, and was voted 69th all-time best computer RPG by RPG Codex. Best of all, it's completely free. Play as fierce warrior, cryptic sorceress, or elusive rogue. Their skills can be customized, and each has her own solutions and side quests, offering great replay value. Are you up to the quest, or will you die trying?" So again, that's Heroine's Quest, kind of a point-and-click slash adventure or slash RPG mashup. Heroine's Quest, the Herald of Ragnarok. You can get it at crystalshard.net. The penultimate game for this edition of the Summer of Free is called Sarah is Missing. Now this is interesting. It's basically simulating. It's a game that simulates the idea that you found the phone of this girl who's missing, and you have to use the contents, snoop around the contents of her phone to try and figure out what happened to her. Now, I'm actually not sure if this is available. Let's see here. A downloadable game for Windows, Mac OS, and Android. So, I mean, maybe it's available for iPhone. Well, I don't know. Is Mac OS, is that the same as iPhone? I don't think so. I don't know. Anyway, Android. So you can get it on Android. But anyway, you could play it on your desktop just as well. The description reads: "You found a phone belonging to a missing person. What would you do? Sarah has disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and your only lead is her mobile phone. Search for clues by investigating Sarah's personal messages, notes, emails, pictures, and videos while trying to piece together her final days. Unlock password-protected files, uncover hidden messages, and decrypt lost data, and figure out where she went, what she did, and how someone can disappear without a trace so suddenly." This looks like it's gotten a couple of honors. It got first place in International Mobile Gaming Awards of Southeast Asia, and first place in the International Mobile Gaming Awards Southeast Asia. Wait, let's see here. Oh, it's the first International Mobile Gaming Awards of Southeast Asia, and the award is Jury's Honorable Mention, and also Best Upcoming Game were the things that this game won. Features include multiple choices will lead to multiple outcomes and endings, chat with different people at the same time, receive phone calls from NPCs and other mysterious callers, hidden subplots and extra information to unlock, receive videos and photos from other NPCs, simulated mobile phone helper providing hints, and utilizing a similar typing mechanic as popular messaging apps. And in the trailer, it looks like they're using like real actors. I mean, everything about the interface feels like, holy crap, this really feels like I have somebody's phone. And sometimes when they use real actors, it can really just kind of like bring down the production quality a ton. In fact, there was one game I was thinking about mentioning. I decided not to because they used live actors, and when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, no, that looks like it's going to fall flat. But this one looks, what brief video I saw of the live action, the real actors, I was like, this looks kind of legit, So anyway, that's Sarah is Missing, which sounds like a really interesting interactive experience. You can get that over at sarahismissing.itch.io. Let's see here. And then lastly, this is the one that I may be most likely to give some time to. It's called Infested, and it's described as a retro sci-fi adventure. The description reads: "In Infested, you must find your way through an infested spaceship and discover a way to escape by using the resources and environment around you. Control your character by selecting various actions at the bottom of the screen and manage items you have picked up along the way in your personal inventory on the right-hand side of the screen. You are also provided with a navigation tool in the bottom left that will indicate the directions in which you can move." Now, before I go on, I should mention, if you're just listening to the podcast version of this, this is made very much in the style of like the NES ports, Deja Vu, And what was the other one? They're like these point-and-click adventure games where you've got like a box in the upper left that's kind of like represents the visuals of the room, and then you've got like other boxes, a box on the right that has like a notepad with notes and stuff like that, and then a readout below that. It's Uninvited. Is that the name of the game? Uninvited? I think that might be it. Uninvited and Deja Vu. It definitely has the vibe like this was inspired by them. I don't know if it mentions it in the description here, but I just wanted you to have that visual in your mind. And also I should say, which by now you should have heard or are hearing, the music for this that I heard in the trailer for it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, maybe more than anything else, that makes me want to sit down and play this. But both because of its kind of nostalgia retro style, and just I like the vibe that it's going for. So I'm like, oh dang, yeah, me likey. The description continues saying, along your journey you will encounter hazards and creatures that will kill you if given the chance. If you die, it's not the end. It is all just part of discovering the hazards that this game has to offer, and you will simply start from the previous screen. Ooh, that's very cool. Learn from your mistakes and trial and error to discover the solution to the puzzles put before you. If you become stuck, don't be afraid to use your items in various ways. Be sure to examine your surroundings to get clues to help you along the way. It's all about making your way to the end of your journey one step at a time. Oh, there we go. Infested is a point-and-click game in the style of NES classics Shadowgate, Deja Vu, and Uninvited, except you get to actually use a real mouse instead of using that crosspad to, move an arrow around, which were developed by ICOM Simulations Incorporated and published by Chemco Corp. This game looks like it's a lost NES game published by those exact same people. Anyway, yeah, I'm very curious about this one. There's a good chance I'll give a little bit of time to this at least. Anyway, that's all for the free video game options from the Summer of Free this time around. If you want to find a bunch more free video game options or other free entertainment options of all kinds from the past, you can check the archives over at summeroffree.com. And in the meantime, I hope you'll join us over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth.